On today's show, Anthony Davis is playing with the best pair of bigs he's ever played with, and it's a clear advantage for the Dallas Mavericks. I'll tell you why on today's Locked On Mavs. Stop it! Stop! The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years. Thanks for reading every day and making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. You did that. You did that. We can officially say that, the #1 sports podcast network in existence. That's pretty cool. And we're one of the biggest shows, so I appreciate everybody for helping us do that. Those that have been with us since the beginning, since 2017, when Isaac and I took over this show, we were not the #1 sports podcast network in the country, but we are now, and that is absolutely incredible. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about the bigs. I'm going to talk about Anthony Davis. I'm going to talk about Dereck Lively, Daniel Gafford. We got big questions about all of them. I want to talk about what is going to be required of the Mavs centers offensive wise, because I think that's the big thing for them. Could Gafford start by the end of the year? Is it more likely to be benched, traded, start by the end of the year? Like, which is more likely? I also think that the Mavs double big lineup is going to be an advantage in a bigger way than we even realize, and I'll talk about that. But let's start here. Anthony Davis is an all-NBA player. We've been talking about him for weeks. We did the Locked On Top 100, and he is a top 10 player. He was a top 14 player in the Locked On Top 100, but a top 10 player to me. Slightly had him at 8. I think Isaac had him in the top 10 as well, because he is that good on both ends of the floor. And that is the type of player the Mavericks have now. The health is the big question. I'm not really going to talk about the health today. We've talked about it so much. I've mentioned it so many different times. You're probably sick of hearing it. I'm sick of talking about it and hearing it. Obviously, yes, if Anthony Davis is not healthy, then the season is going to be for naught. It's going to be all about Cooper Flagg, and that's literally it. There's like no hoping to win at that point if you don't have Anthony Davis. He is that impactful of a player. But what I do want to look at and focus on is the centers that Anthony Davis has played in the past. One of the big things that has been made about Anthony Davis's career is that he wants to be a 4. He wants to be a power forward. He wants to play with another big next to him. And his teams in the past have tried. They have tried to put centers next to him. The most games he's played with in his career with a center is Alexia Jinsa, 180 games. That's like, what, 2 seasons and some change, basically. Omer Ashik, 154 games he's played with him. And then it drops down to Dwight Howard with 108 games for the Lakers. And so I just look at this. I look at this list. Jackson Hayes, 92 games with the Lakers. Jeff Withey, our old friend from the Giraffe Gaff lineup, if you remember that one from like a long time ago, Locked On Mavs. That was like an inside joke from forever ago. Played 74 games. JaVale McGee, 73 games with the Lakers. Robin Lopez back in like his rookie season. Anthony Davis' rookie season, he played like 64 games. Jason Smith played 63. DeMarcus Cousins played 59 games with Anthony Davis. Greg Stiesma played 50. Marc Gasol, when he was 36 years old, played 35 games with him, and Jahlil Okafor played 34 games with him. That's the centers that have played with Anthony Davis 30 games or more. That list did not inspire like a lot of like warm feelings. And so I look at Dereck Lively and Daniel Gafford, and whatever you think of them, I know that there are Gafford stands, there are Lively stands. Every time we mention that Lively's going to start, there's some people that say, well, why you guys are discounting and you're hating on Gafford. When we talked about Gafford and his contract and how it's tradable, like, why are you always trying to ship Gafford out of here? And then some people are like, you guys even underrate Lively. He's going to be better than you even think. There's some people on both sides of that. I think that there are some Lively stands and there are some Gafford stands. But whatever you think about them, they are both very good centers. And they're both solid, playing in their role. And both of them, definitely combined, but maybe even separately, are the best centers that Anthony Davis has ever played with. DeMarcus Cousins is the one that you think about, because Marc Gasol was a great center in his career, but he's 35. He was 36 years old by the time he played for the Lakers. It was his last season, and he played 35 games with Anthony Davis. I just don't think that he was at that level anymore. Dwight Howard, they won a championship in 2020. Obviously, JaVale McGee, same thing, but Dwight Howard was a little better than him that year. Dwight Howard played 108 games with Anthony Davis throughout the course of 2 separate different seasons. But Dwight Howard's 34 and he was 36 years old in those seasons. Like he played with an old Dwight Howard. Still effective, still did good things, but not a 22-year-old Dereck Lively, a 27-year-old Daniel Gafford. DeMarcus Cousins is the one. If you're going to look at it and say, all right, well, obviously he played with an all-star DeMarcus Cousins. He played 59 games with him over the course of the 2016-17 season, 2017-18 season. DeMarcus Cousins was 27 years old. He was like in his prime at that point. They played about 1,000 minutes together, Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, and they were only a plus 4.4 in the net rating, meaning they only outscored opponents by 4 points per 100 possessions. That's not really like inspiring me a ton. And maybe that says more about their guards and their wings and how they fit and all that kind of stuff. That Pelicans team, that was the 2017-18 season. They were 48 and 34. The other bigs, though, that they played with were Omer Asik, Nikola Mirotic, and older Emeka Okafor. The combination of Lively and Gafford are still the best combination of centers that Anthony Davis has ever played with. And that's the point that I think I want to make here, is that there's this opportunity, whichever one plays with Anthony Davis, that combo is going to be great. And even Lively is a way better defensive center than DeMarcus Cousins was. Gafford is not close offensively, but Gafford can do some stuff offensively. And Anthony Davis knows how to play with a center like that. We saw it for the 1/2 against the Houston Rockets that I love to bring up all the time. But I love that the Mavs bigs, it's the best duo that Anthony Davis has ever played with. It's the best options that he's ever had, probably since that DeMarcus Cousins season, and then Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee. And we've seen good things when that happens. Depends on health, but I love that combo of them. So then you take a look at that and you say, all right, well, that threesome is going to be fearsome. Like it is going to be a great threesome. You look across the way. Anthony Davis, almost 7 foot himself. Lively, 7'1", Gafford, 6'10", giving you problems on the boards, giving you problems in the post, giving you problems on the pick and roll. So many different issues that those guys present. The Mavericks, double bigs, is coming at a really good time. I posted this a little while ago, that there are so many teams that are going double bigs now. You've got, like, I guess if you count Aaron Gordon, he's like 6'10", but if you count Aaron Gordon and Jokic, if you count Houston with Şengün, Adams, Capella, if they're going to run that double big lineup like they did in the playoffs. The Clippers will have Zubac and John Collins, I guess, Brook Lopez. I don't know if they're going to run those like double big lineups as much. Memphis with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Zach Edey for sure. Minnesota with Gobert, Randall, Nasri, they run double bigs sometimes. OKC with Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, they run double bigs. Cleveland, Mobley, Allen, they run double bigs. Milwaukee is going to run it now with Giannis and Miles Turner, plus Bobby Portis thrown in the mix there. Like all those teams have all these double bigs or multiple guys that have size. And this Mavs duo is going to be necessary against those teams. Think about it if it was last year and Lively and PJ versus all those double bigs. Those guys look across the way and be like, man, all of a sudden we have this size disadvantage. We've got to rebound. We've got to box out. Like you've got to work harder in order to have an advantage against those teams. Now the Mavericks match up against those teams and honestly have an advantage against some of them. Like Anthony Davis versus John Collins. Give me that matchup every day. Anthony Davis versus Aaron Gordon even. Anthony Davis speed-wise against Şengün. Against Julius Randle. Like the size-wise against Chet or Isaiah Hartenstein, like I'm feeling good about almost every one of these matchups. But at least the Mavs have those two guys, and so they'll be necessary against those teams. But coming up, I'm going to go through every team because I think every other team in the NBA, besides those ones that I just listed, the 8 that I just mentioned, the Mavs will have an advantage over those teams. Let's talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Monarch Money. Monarch Money has you covered because we have so many things going on. There's so much stuff. I randomly just got a charge that I saw on Monarch Money that I didn't realize that I was getting charged for. It was like a yearly thing that comes around every once in a while. And I saw it on Monarch Money and I was like, ooh, let me go take advantage of that and check and see if I can get this canceled. Got it canceled, all that. And it was thanks to Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. If you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table or getting money taken off the table like I was with that subscription I didn't know about. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you can't put off organizing your finances because it'll cost you literally Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. It helps you organize all your financial accounts, put it all in, and I was able to connect all my different systems in minutes. It was absolutely awesome. 401k, mortgage, savings account, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. Again, use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of what we call the Raccoon Squad. That's our listeners. We listen every single day. We appreciate you for checking out the show on the #1 sports podcast network in the U.S. Love that. I don't know if there's are there sports podcast networks in other countries? Now that I think about it, is there like a cricket podcast network? Interesting. Cricket, the sport, not the mobile phone. We're talking about the bigs. We're talking about Anthony Davis and how he's being paired with the best duo of bigs he's ever had. And the Mavs are going to need those guys against the Denvers, the Houstons, the Clippers, the Grizzlies of the world, Timberwolves, Thunder, Cavs, the Bucks for sure. They're going to need double bigs against those teams because all of a sudden there's a bunch of teams that are running multiple centers out there or just big bodies out there. A lot of skilled bigs now. But then you take a look at the rest of the league, honestly, and the Mavs will have an advantage against every other team in the NBA. You line up Anthony Davis, Dereck Lively, Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford. Sometimes even Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, Cooper Flagg will be an advantage against some of these teams just because of sheer size. How many times in the last couple of years, almost the entire history that I've covered the Mavericks in the last decade, the Mavs look across the way and go, we have a size disadvantage today. One of the big jokes from the 2022 playoff run was that Isaac said that rebounds don't matter. It was because that 2022 team started Dwight Powell and it started Dorian Finney-Smith at the 5 and the 4, and Maxi Kleber came in at the 5 very quickly after that. But they were small across the board. They had a smaller 4. They had a smaller 5. They weren't going to get as many rebounds as the other team, and they had to out 3-point shoot the other team. They just had to make more threes than the other team. That was the calculus for that team. It ended up working out. It was great. That was a great run. Super fun. This team is completely different than that one. Rebounds are going to matter for this team because now the Mavericks aren't that team looking across the way and going, oh my gosh, Rutro, we are screwed against this team going up against us. I remember every time they played Drummond, you're just like, all right, we're just not going to get any rebounds. They're probably going to give up like 14 offensive rebounds. It's just going to be a mess. Every time they played Embiid, it's just barbecue chicken over and over again. Honestly, every time they played Anthony Davis was just brutal trying to watch them try and guard that guy. But now you look at the team, and whether you're setting up those double bigs, whether you even just got Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis in there, you've got a size advantage, and you've got an advantage against the Warriors. They don't really even have like a roster right now with the Warriors, but they'll eventually have Horford, Trace Jackson Davis, and Quentin Post. Quentin Post is 7 foot, yes, but Horford, Trace Jackson Davis, undersized as centers. Mavs are going to take advantage of them. The Lakers, they've got DeAndre Ayton. That's a solid one, but Jackson Hayes, and then their 4s are like Rui Hachimura, LeBron, and Maxi Kleber probably will get some time here and there. The Mavs have a clear size advantage against all those guys. The Knicks will have Karl-Anthony Towns. They'll have Mitchell Robinson. I don't know how much they're going to play together. I almost put them in the double bigs group, but I don't know how much they're going to play together because they love to play like the OG at the 4, Josh Hart at the 4. They got Gershon Yabusele, who played on the Sixers last year. But the Mavs have clear size advantage, even maybe against Cat and Mitchell Robinson. But definitely if they're going to play OG at 4, if they're going to play Josh Hart at 4 and like try to go smaller, the Mavs just have a clear size on them. Magic, same thing. They've got decent centers in Gogo Batazzi and Mo Wagner coming off the bench, but Wendell Carter Jr. is like 6'9". Paolo Banchero's probably starting at the 4 again, unless they size down for some reason, which I don't think they're going to. Mavs they're going to look massive against the Magic. Hawks, same thing. Porzingis, Jalen Johnson. The Mavs have size on them. Size on them is like girth. You've got girth against Porzingis, against Jalen Johnson. Okongwu is like a 6'8", 6'9" center. He's undersized. You bring Gafford off the bench, or even if it's Lively off the bench, and all of a sudden you're out rebounding them easy. Boston, no clue who's starting for them. Like you're talking about Nemias Keita, Luka Garza, Chris Boucher, like Xavier Tillman. Like the Mavs are just like Boston plays the Mavericks, and all of a sudden Boston looks across the way and goes, "This is gonna be a rough night for us." Detroit, Jalen Duren, he's 6'10", he's got some size for sure. Paul Reed, he's like 6'9", he's a little smaller. Then Tobias Harris, Beef Stew. The Mavs are taller than all of them. Like literally, the Maverick centers are taller than all those guys. Maybe not the strength advantage because those guys are beefy, but they've got size on them. Even look at the Spurs. The Spurs with Victor Wembanyama, yes, who I think is going to be a top 5 player this year, going to be really great, 7'4", obvious. But like Lively kind of pushes him around sometimes. Anthony Davis can push him around sometimes. Lively outplayed him that first game of his rookie year. Remember that? That was great. But then they got Luke Cornett coming off the bench or maybe even starting, Olynyk. And then their fours are like Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sohan. Mavs, just clear size advantage on that team. Miami, same thing. Bam Adebayo, Kel'el Ware. Maybe they play some more time together, and then that's kind of interesting for the Mavericks because that's fun. But if they don't play those two guys together, then it's Jovic, like Nikola Jovic starting at 4. Even if they play Bam and Ware together, Mavs, I think clear size advantage against that team. Sixers, if Embiid plays, like that used to be a nightmare for the Mavericks. Now you've got Lively and Gafford to throw at him. You got Anthony Davis to throw at him. Drummond coming off the bench does not scare me as much, but their fours are a mess. Like maybe it's Paul George, maybe it's Jabari Walker, maybe it's Trendon Watford. I'm not worried about any of those guys. Mavs clear size advantage on that team. And Embiid's not going to be crashing the glass as much as he was before because of all the injuries. He's going to be playing it safe. The Pacers, Miles Turner's gone. You got Isaiah Jackson, Jay Huff. The fours are Siakam and Obi Toppin. They're decent fours, but like Anthony Davis is going up against, like that's a 7-footer they're going to have to try and rebound against, try and go to the rim against. Like it's not just about rebounding even. It's about the Mavs being able to defend the rim, the Mavs being able to stop post-ups, the Mavs being able to just clog the paint and take away any kind of driving lanes. And so those are some of the good teams. All the bad teams are all going to have kind of issues against the Mavs. Raptors with Pirtle at center, great. But then Ingram, like Jonathan Mobo at 4, both would be undersized or smaller for 4s. The Bulls, Nikola Vucevic, Zach Collins at centers, but then it's like Montes Buzelis at the 4, maybe Patrick Williams, maybe they play at the 4. Anthony Davis is eating them for breakfast. Phoenix, they added a bunch of centers this offseason. Nick Richards, Mark Williams, Common Malawatch. The Mavs are just like every center on the Mavericks roster is better than all 3 of those guys. Clear advantage. Pelicans, they bring in Kevon Looney. They got Derek Queen now. They have Yves Missi still from last season. Mavs clear size advantage. Looney is going to look small. Remember in 2022 in the playoffs when Looney looked like a giant and was getting every rebound? Didn't he have 20 rebounds in that one game? He just destroyed the Mavericks. It's not going to be like that anymore. This Mavs team is completely different than it was before. I need to go back and what was that one game Looney just absolutely ripped the Mavericks. He hit 11 points, 18 rebounds in that one game in the final, game 5, the closeout game against the Mavericks. He had 12 rebounds in 2 other games in that series. The Warriors won both of them. Like that, the Mavs were just helpless at that, and it's not going to be the case. That's just rebounds, but even defending the rim, like I said, post-ups, the lobs, like there's just going to be so many advantages. Portland, you've got Donovan Clingan, you got Hanson Young, but I take the Mavs centers over those guys right now. And then who's playing 4? Is it Denny Avdia? Is it Jeremy Grant? Give me Anthony Davis, size-wise. That team is looking across the way and going like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a difficult night for us. Kings, they've got Sabonis, and like that's it. No Jonas Valanciunas anymore. Is it Keegan Murray that's starting at 4? Is it DeMar DeRozan? Like the Kings, they get out-rebounded by like 20 against the Mavericks. The Jazz, you got Walker Kessler and Larry Markkinen. That's a good combo. I'm still taking both the Mavs bigs against those guys. I'm taking Lively or Gafford against Kessler. I'm taking Anthony Davis against Larry Markkinen. Clear advantage. And the Wizards and the Nets. Do I even need to read who's on the roster? But the Wizards, it's Alex Sarr, Marvin Bagley, Nikola Vucevic, like Vukovic, the other one. Bilal Coulibaly maybe starting at 4. Maybe Alex Sarr starting at 4. Feeling good against the Mavs. Just have clear size advantage against all these teams. I wanted to lay it all out, and I wanted to read every single one of them just so you realize how many times the Mavericks are going to look across the way and be like, all right, at least we have one clear advantage going into the night. The offense may be a problem. We may have to figure out shooting. There may be some issues here and there, but at least you've got some guaranteed something with this team. Coming up, let's talk about Gafford. Could he start by the end of the season? What is required out of these Mavs centers? I'm going to answer that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Open Phone. Openphone.com/LockedOnNBA is the URL to go check out. If you're a business, you know that missing a call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber. I literally just hired a plumber and I called one number. I literally did this. I called one number, they didn't answer, or they put me to voicemail. So I called a different one. They left my business on the table because they didn't have Open Phone. It's the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. Open Phone lets you manage business calls and text from a single app. You have a shared inbox too that'll help you to your whole team can jump in and answer stuff whenever. So it's not just on one person. If you own a small business, you know how crucial that is. Open Phone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. If you have an existing number with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. You don't have to change your number, do all that kind of stuff. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Isaac, we're talking about the Mavs against everybody. Everybody. The Mavs bigs. The combo of Anthony Davis and Dereck Lively, Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford is a clear advantage over so many teams. The Mavs are going to at least enter most every game with an advantage there. Now I want to talk about Gafford and Lively. I got a couple questions about them that I'm going to run through. Could Gafford start by the end of the season? Because I asked this question because I said it the other day, and then I thought about it. I was like, do I really believe that? I think there is a chance that Gafford starts by the end of the season. It depends on who plays better with Anthony Davis. Obviously, health for both Lively and AD is in play, but I'm not bringing that up today. Who plays better with Anthony Davis? What do they need with Anthony Davis? You look at the Mavs roster, you look at what they have at the guard position, at the wing position. The Mavs are going to need some offense somewhere, and Gafford can bring that. Gafford, they ran 55 post-ups for him last season, 1.15 points per possession, pretty good. Lively, they only ran 14, and it was 1.5 points per possession, meaning he basically scored every single time. He was 10 of 13 on his post-ups, meaning they only really gave him the ball to post up when it was absolutely a clear advantage. He was going to get the ball in the bucket no matter what. We are asking this question about, is Lively going to shoot threes? That would add clear value to the starting lineup, but I don't know if they're going to do that right away. Maybe they will. We're not that far from the first preseason game, by the way. Very excited about that. How far are we away? 18 days away from the first preseason game, when maybe we will learn this if Anthony Davis does play because of the eye injury. Oh my gosh. Just how many times can I say I'm not going to talk about health, and then health comes up in some way, in a different way in this episode? That's going to be the thing that we live with the Anthony Davis experience, which is one of the reasons why people are so upset. The Mavs were now in that experience. But I think Gafford could start if the Mavericks find themselves needing offense in some way. If they need some post-ups, they need a little bit more. They need somebody that works well with Anthony Davis. We've seen Gafford work well with Anthony Davis. Lively has too, so I won't completely take him out of the picture. But if you just need some more scoring, you're getting that from Gafford. You even look at the lineups the Mavs ran last year. I took a look at some of the lineups the Mavs ran without Luka with some of these centers, because I think you just take Luka completely out of the picture, because he is. Without Luka last year, Gafford was on the floor for 1,700 possessions. Pretty good sample size. The Mavs had 116 offensive rating. That's really good. They did have 116 defensive rating. That's bad. But the offense is what I want to focus on. The lineups with Lively without Luka was about 1,000 possessions. Still really good. Still a good sample size. Not as big as the Gafford one. The offense at 114 offensive rating. Good. 112 defensive rating. So the Lively lineup was better. The Gafford lineup scored more. If you need more scoring, you put Gafford in. And maybe they're going to need that, because you've already got Cooper Flagg. You've already got Anthony Davis. Maybe you're starting Max Christie or Caleb Martin at that time to get more defense. And then you look around the table and you're just saying, all right, who are we setting up for? Like, who are we getting? Who's feasting down low. Who's taking advantage of our big lineup? When I went through all those teams and I'm like, yeah, they were playing these guys and it's a clear size advantage. Is Lively taking advantage of that matchup, or is Gafford going to? Gafford will. We know that. I know that about Daniel Gafford. The landlord, rent is due for the landlord. He's going to come in and make you pay. And so that's the case that I think that Gafford could start by the end of the season. Obviously, health out of the picture for a second. If the Mavs need more offense, they're going to get the defense from Anthony Davis, from Cooper Flagg. And then you could bring Lively off the bench and you get better defense there and you get a little better playmaking. I think Jason Kidd thinks like that sometimes. How does this lineup fit a little bit better? Let's put Lively in the second unit because we need more playmaking in that unit. You got D'Angelo Russell to set up Daniel Gafford and to set up his possessions because we need him to score in this moment. We need Lively to just be maybe the setup guy for others, for shooters off the bench. They do have some shooters off the bench. Maybe it's Clay, but Max Christie for sure. Najee Marshall maybe running some dribble handoffs with Lively. That could be effective. And so I think that's maybe the question that Jason Kidd may be asking himself. Does Lively need to shoot threes? I think he does if the Mavs want to be like an NBA title contender. They need some space in that. They need some extra offense. They need some extra oomph. But I don't think they need it to be a good team. I think that's the answer. And I just don't know whether they're going to do it or not. I know his shot looks good. We've seen it. I've seen it in practice. I've also seen Steven Adams go around the world and hit every single three. Like these guys are really good. I saw Dwight Powell win shooting contests in Mavericks practice every year, it seems like. And then he gets on the floor and it's just completely different. So I think Gafford could start by the end of the year. I think that Lively will start to start the year for sure. But I think this could be a question that we're asking. Mavs have clear advantages with these bigs. I'm really excited to see it happen. I'm excited to see what happens with them. Guys, thanks for checking out the show and listening every single day. We've got more stuff going on all the time. We'll have shows. Isaac, I think, is back tomorrow. I'm excited to bring back my guy to talk more about the Mavs. We'll have some more preview stuff. And then Media Day is coming up soon. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.